Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
In 2005, two brothers hit the road to fight monsters. That road has led them to fighting demons, angels, and saving the world.
It's a journey that is taking them to heaven, hell, and back. But they aren't done.
Join our journey as we go episode by episode, following the adventures of Sam and Dean Winchester. We break each episode down with the writers, producers, directors, crew, and actors to bring you the behind-the-scenes stories of how this legendary TV series was made. That guy right there, that's Rob Benedict. He played God and Chuck Shirley.
Hey, and that guy there, that's Richard Spade Jr. He played Gabriel, Loki, and the Trickster. And P.S., he directed a bunch of episodes, too.
Now, while we are insiders, we're also outsiders, because we're not experts. This is our first time watching the entire series, all 327 episodes.
Rich and I have met many of the fans at conventions around the world, and we are deepening our understanding of why you all love this series so much. Because it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Now listen, there will be spoilers, so consider yourself warned.
And thank you for joining us on this trip we call Supernatural Then and Now. Hey everybody, I am Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spade Jr.
And we are talking about Season 7, Episode 13, The Slice Girls.
But dude, can we just... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring this into the podcast, but dude, you're so hard to communicate with. And this is a weird time to talk about it. I know we're recording. I could have done this before, but it's eating at me. Just tell me what you want.
What I really, really want?
Yeah, tell me what you want.
What I really, really want. I wanna.
Huh? If you want to meet Danny Glover.
Guys, before we get into the Slice Girls and let Richard do all of his bits about the Spice Girls, we want to acknowledge something. We had kind of an Easter egg in the last couple of episodes that some of you caught.
Yep, because people were upset that it wasn't Easter. And to them, I say, that's the term for it.
Right. And also, it was a test. We were seeing if you knew where the sports Hall of Fames across the United States were, and they're fabulous sports Hall of Fames all across the United States. And it's actually the Pro Football Hall of Fame that's located in Canton, Ohio. And we had said that the Baseball Hall of Fame is there. Richard said Baseball Hall of Fame, and I said, right you are, sir. And
we did that on purpose. To see who really knows their sports Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
Counts.
And apparently some of you do, because it was brought to our producer's attention, and we're saying kudos to you, ma'am and sir.
Yeah, ma'am and or sir, who got it right.
You got it right.
We also knew.
Yeah.
We were just testing you.
Yeah.
A lot of you passed. A lot of you didn't pass. And to you, I say, shame on you.
No, right. Some of you didn't notice, and we say, yeah, shame on you. Just so you know, and I'm going off script here, this is all from memory, but the NASCAR Hall of Fame is in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh.
The Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame is in Springfield, Massachusetts.
If I could do a little improv with you here,
please.
I'd like to spitball and say that I'm pretty sure there's a Hockey Hall of Fame in Eveleth, Minnesota.
Wow. With your lisp, it sounded like you said Eveleth.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay. So Eveleth, Minnesota is a Hockey Hall of Fame. Interesting. You know, there's also one in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we couldn't have just one Hall of Fame for hockey because we have to tariff people to come see it.
That's right. If only there was a women's ice hockey team.
Oh, dude, there is.
What?
Yeah, my buddy Albert was telling me about it. It's in
Wait, your buddy-
Alberta.
Albert, Canada?
Albert A, Canada. Alberta, Canada. And it's named the Central Alberta Amazons, which is apropos.
Wow. You talk about a cool segue.
There goes a cool segue. Robbie, why don't you summarize this episode like you do so poetically every week?
Well, Dean is still trying to get a lead on Dick Roman.
Yep.
And this is the point in the episode where they go, this is not an episode that's going to forward the plot of the season. It's just going to be a fun one-off.
I like one-offs, man.
Me too. Sam finds a case in Seattle, Washington, where 4 men have been killed and had their hands and feet cut off. With all their Leviathan leads cold, the brothers head out to stay busy. The boys are at the coroner's office examining the latest victim. In addition to having his hands and feet chopped off, he has an odd symbol carved into his chest. He's showing signs of being thrown across the room, even though he was 190 pounds. The coroner's assistant tells him that the attacker's DNA isn't human, so the brothers split up to continue the investigation. Sam heads to do some research, and they're really feeling the loss of Bobby here, too. They don't have Bobby, so they really have to, create their own.
Yeah, they're Bobbyless, you know?
They're Bobbyless, and also they're babyless. Where's Baby?
Baby with Bobby.
Did they throw Baby out with the bathwater?
Bobby absconded with Baby.
Okay.
They had to say bye-bye, Baby.
Wow.
To Bobby. And also bye-bye, Baby to Baby when Bobby absconded with Baby.
Wow. I'm baffled.
It's a bit of a boo-boo, if you ask.
So the coroner's assistant tells the brothers split up to continue the investigation. Sam has to do some research. Dean goes to a local bar, the Cobalt Room, to chat it up with locals. There he meets Lydia. Dean tells her he speaks Japanese and is an investment banker.
I didn't know that Dean spoke Japanese and was an investment banker.
He's not, and he doesn't.
What?
Right.
Oh, man, I almost slept with him.
I know. Lydia couldn't, she didn't see that.
She was duped.
Yeah, she was duped. Well, it was either that or the sweet sounds of Loudon Swain pulsing through these speakers in this scene.
Every time I hear that song from now on, I'm going to want to definitely hook up with Lydia.
Well, okay, that's good. I thought you were going to say me, and then I would...
No, I just want to be sure that anybody backstage who's named Lydia, when that song plays...
Yeah, note to self, clear the Lydias.
You play it every Saturday Night Special. Not everyone, but you play that a lot.
Yeah.
So heads up, Lydias.
Well, Lydia flirts back, and they head back to her place for some sexy time and a sex scene, which they don't normally do in this show.
No, they certainly don't.
Well, the next morning we find out, on the third watch, the sex scene... no, I'm kidding. The next morning we find out there was another victim. That was a cool cut, too, where they're cutting between sex scene and...
the intercutting between the scene and the violence was cool.
Yeah, and though we didn't know it at the time, both involved the same group of people that are duping these men.
The kids call it duping, do they?
Yeah. After they duped. At the crime scene, Sam and Dean meet Charlene, the detective on the case. It appears that all the victims are successful men in their early 30s. Sam questions a neighbor who mentions the latest victim's wife just left him because he had a one-night stand with another woman. Dean realizes he left Bobby's flask at Lydia's house. He calls her, and she brushes him off.
That's not usual for Dean. He didn't get the brush off. Right?
He doesn't get brushed off, no. Well, later we see Lydia is pregnant. What? She wasn't pregnant yesterday? And she's become full term in less than 24 hours. She delivers the baby in a ritual surrounded by women.
Yeah, man, that's a quick gestation period.
Normally, it takes what, 6 or 7 months?
I'm going to go with 9.
9.
Probably 9.
Right, 9. The next day, the boys head to the local university to get... Now, for those of you that thought that I wasn't kidding just now, I was kidding. I've had 3 children, so I'm well aware that it's 9 months.
He knows it's a 5 to 6 month process and doesn't appreciate you thinking otherwise.
The next day, the boys head to the local university to get help with the symbol being carved into the victim's chest. Again, they don't have Bobby, so they really have to figure this out on their own.
No Bobby.
Dean leaves from there to go get...
I ain't got no Bobby.
Bobbyless and babyless. Dean leaves from there to go get Lydia's to retrieve Bobby's flask. Once there, he sees a toddler in a crib. That's right, not a baby, but a toddler.
Right.
A little girl named Emma. He discreetly hears the baby talking, and he's shocked. Well, I would be too.
Yeah, good diction on that kid.
I was thinking about my own baby and going, man, she's not She's not very
I
far
couldn't
along.
help but think that Margaret is way behind Emma.
Yeah, she's not doing sentences.
You should never measure baby against baby, but
I know.
You know what I mean?
No, she's that same age, and she's not doing sentences.
Nope.
You know what they should have had the baby say is like, "Who's the hottie?" That would have been funny. Meanwhile, Sam is at the crime lab and learns that several of the victims have a connection to the Cobalt Room.
Except for the fact that that's the baby's dad. So maybe that would have been a little
But she did say, but the line, because I had to go back and listen, because he was like, "What the?" She says, "Who's that?"
Right.
And she didn't know.
I know, but it'd been a little creepy to say, like, who's
I
the
guess
smoke
so.
show?
I guess so. Anyway, meanwhile, Sam is at the crime lab and he learns that several of the victims have a connection to the Cobalt Room. Dean is still outside Lydia's house, staking it out. He is suspicious. He sees several women exiting the house with a little girl named Emma. A girl, not a toddler anymore.
No, not a toddler. They grow up so fast, Robert.
I guess they do. I didn't know that meant one day. He follows them to an abandoned building. The professor from the university, played by Harry Groner, who I love. I did a couple of play readings at South Coast Repertory Theater in Costa Mesa, California, with Harry, who's a fabulous theater actor, and you see him in everything. He's in a lot of different things. So great actor.
Great.
Plays the professor.
Right. Did you play Marianne to his professor?
Yeah. And then separately, we did a reading together. The professor from the university calls Sam and says he's figured out the symbol. It is affiliated with Harmonia. He conducts some research and learns that Harmonia turned the Amazons into monsters, giving them the power to reproduce quickly and for their offspring to grow rapidly.
Yeah, you don't say.
The Amazons likely kill their mates as part of the mating ritual, unless you have Prime, in which case they can get it to you in 2 days.
Yeah, kill you faster.
Sam heads back to the university to have the professor translate something they found in Bobby's research. Well, also, this is left out. I thought this was big, was that they're doing the research on their own, looking through Bobby's book, old dusty books.
Yeah.
And some kind of spirit or something maybe moves the pieces of paper so that this one.
No, remember they realized there's electrical wiring near the window that was open.
No. Well,
Breeze.
or do they?
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying maybe Bobby's.
But maybe you should quit spending all that time at the Cobalt Room.
I know, they got good burgers. Sam heads back to the university.
Oh my God. Are you referring to the classy women of the Cobalt Room as burgers?
No, I'm referring to...
That is awful.
No, I'm referring to...
I cannot believe... I can't sit and be party to this kind of discourse.
What I'm saying. I'm talking about the Wagyu meat.
Robert! These are professional women out for a night of stimulating conversation and perhaps the company of a peer, and you're calling them Wagyu meat?
No, I am
Dude,
not. I'm talking about the cheeseburgers that you eat. I'm eating them. And by the way, they're dangerous Amazon monsters.
That is unbelievable how you referred, and then what you would do, like describing in detail is too much, Robert. It's too far. It's too much. I put my foot down. I apologize on behalf.
No, everybody. No, stay with me, guys. Sam heads back to the university to have the professor translate something that they found, quote unquote, that when papers were moved, because maybe the air maybe goes to Bobby, found in Bobby's research. While Sam is gone, Emma shows up at the motel room. She pleads with Dean to help her.
And now she's all grown up, by the way.
She's all grown up. She's probably 18 years old. And so, yeah, she tells Dean he's her father and the only person she could go to.
That mofo has a lot of kids, by the way. We're now up to 2.
Yeah, we're up to 2 that we know of.
Dean has.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the professor translates the document and tells Sam that the offspring of Amazons must kill their father to become a warrior and be accepted by the tribe. Sam rushes back to Dean. At the motel, Emma has now pulled a knife on Dean. He's hesitant to make a move on her. It's his daughter.
Meaning, make a move, meaning shoot her in the chest. I mean, like he's got a gun drawn on her.
Yeah, he's got a gun drawn on her. Yeah. Yeah, not whatever your dirty mind was thinking.
Well, after the Wagyu statement, I'm like, man, I don't even know what to think.
There's nothing to do with Wagyu, and you know it.
Uh-huh.
He tries to talk some sense into her, but his gun is drawn. Sam shows up. He sees that Emma's determined to kill Dean, and he puts a bullet in her chest. Sam and Dean head to the building, ready to shoot down the rest of the Amazons, but they're gone.
I will say one of the things I thought was kind of funny is, 18-year-old Emma makes some comment about like, this is no way to live a life, or my life so far has been whatever. And I'm like, your life has been 5 minutes. And by the way, at this pace, you're going to be dead by lunch. So you're going to be 100 tomorrow. So, I mean, do we have to shoot you, or can we just run around the parking lot and watch you age and die?
It's a waste of time.
You really don't have to. You can save the bullets.
That's a good point. Later, as they leave town, Sam challenges Dean about his hesitation to shoot Emma. And finally, the simmering tension about the death of Amy resurfaces again.
Thank God they brought that back, because everybody cares about the Amy storyline. It resonated the moment it happened, and it has eaten at me ever since.
I know, and I don't know if you saw the before, they do then and now.
I did not.
Which this podcast is named after. Well, in the then, they re-show Amy dying again, and I thought, oh, Rich is going to love this. Anyway, how could Dean do such a cruel thing to a person so important to Sam? Sam reminds Dean that they must always kill the monster. Dean, still conflicted, says he'll do what he can.
I guess we'll see, huh?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I thought Jerry Wanick did a great job.
Yeah, Jerry Wanick's directorial debut was very strong.
And he just, what do you say, tore the leather off the ball?
Yeah, and just it's knocked the leather off the ball. Just to remind people, Jerry Wanick was the production designer on the show for its entire run.
Yeah.
And this is his first time directing.
But he sat down with the ball, and he actually tore it off with his hands.
With his bare hands,
different.
like an Amazon.
Yeah. The only things that bumped for me were just a couple little, I don't know, like this conversation in the car. First of all, it left me feeling not complete because the Amazons got away. What's going to happen now? Are we following up? Will we come back to the Amazons?
I guess we'll find out. We don't know.
Okay. Secondly, this whole thing about you killed. I don't know. Just bringing up the Amy thing again. It felt like beating a dead horse.
I agree.
And I didn't necessarily get. There were a couple things where Dean and Sam weren't connecting when I feel like they would have connected. Like Sam doesn't really catch on that Dean was with this woman, and maybe it's more than just Dean had a one-night stand. It's a little bit like, oh, you and your one-night stands. But I feel like he would have gotten it sooner than that. Like, well, wait a minute. You were at the Cobalt Room. You know what I mean? He hears that information that he was at the Cobalt Room, and he's not quicker to be like, whoa, hold on a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also thought that, I don't know, they breezed over, but the fact that it was, I mean, Dean had to play hey, I hesitated because she's my kid. I don't know, somehow I thought they glossed over that a little bit. Maybe they didn't. I just kind of felt like it was a big deal. Like the Amy thing is not the same thing as a kid.
Right, exactly.
But also, Dean's also real quick to believe it's his kid. I don't know. I mean, I know they're used to monsters and weird stuff. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I agree with you. It was,
and it wasn't even that last conversation. It wasn't like Dean was like, "Why'd you do that? That was my child." Dean did kind of understand. I don't know. It felt a little forced or something.
Yeah, I get it.
Now that being said, I really liked the episode. I liked it a lot.
Me too.
Tell me more about why you liked it.
Well, I thought it was consistent. Like I said, I liked the storyline of the kid that grows fast. I thought the actress who played Lydia was great. I thought the intercutting the love scene and the violence was cool. I also thought one of the things that was cool, it's small, but when the Amazon chief of police or whoever that was got mad and she grabbed Sam's arm and her eyes kind of got sunken and red. It was a cool little effect on her. Yeah,
and they did it again for the daughter when she turns, and that's what Sam sees,
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, and that's another thing we didn't mention is that that character takes a turn too. You don't expect that she's the chief of police is actually an Amazon herself, Amazonian.
Oh no, but they did do the thing that they're doing in season 7 where we're with the monsters again, because at one point 2 Amazon women have a conversation about it, and it's just so unique to this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where we usually don't see the monsters conspiring with each other, but
right. True.
Well, let's get down to facial hair, buddy. Do you have a measuring stick for this, a rating?
I don't know. Do you have a theme song?
Well, let's see if I can dust one up real quick. R, Rob, and Rich. Ratings.
I'm going to give it the Pedro Pascal.
Oh, that's a solid. A mustache?
Well, in Last of Us, I think it's a full-on sort of patchy beard. It's not full grown in, but it's Pedro Pascal, and everybody loves Pedro Pascal.
Who doesn't love Pedro Pascal?
I love Pedro Pascal, and I thought Jerry Wanick did such a great job with this episode. It warms my heart, and the episode was really good. The fact that there was a Loudon Swain song is special for me. I gave it Pedro, the only thing is that he grows a patchy beard, but it's Pedro Pascal, so it's perfect. But it's a little bit patchy, but it's awesome.
Well, I'm going to go with, in honor of this episode, a fully bearded, not current, not right now, but even more bearded Rob Benedict. In the early Loudon Swain days. And as a tip of the cap to the Loudon Swain song being in the episode, I think it's a solid episode. You grow a solid beard. I think it's, it just entertaining, like your beard. Also a bit offensive, much like your beard. Had a restraining order against it, like your beard. I'm going to go with the fully bearded early Loudon Swain Rob Benedict for this one as a tip of the cap.
Very good.
What album is that song off?
That is Worlds Collide, and Worlds Collide is on Eskimo, I believe.
All right, so I'm going to get an Eskimo era Rob Benedict beard.
Okay, great.
Good stuff all around. A bummer we don't have anybody who was there, boots on the ground, working on this episode from beginning to end to talk to about it.
Do I have a surprise for you?
Uh-huh.
We sat down and talked to Jerry Wanick.
What?
Yeah. And you were there.
I was a part of this.
Yeah.
Jerry. I noticed you don't call Jerry a Wagyu burger. You wouldn't dare. He'd smack that beard rating right off your face.
Jerry Wagyu Wanick.
He wouldn't stand for it.
This is his, we all know he's the production designer.
Executive producer as well.
An executive producer, but this is directorial debut for Jerry. And he ended up directing 3 episodes of Supernatural.
All great, but this one is a great start and really impressive launching into a path of directing for Jerry.
Absolutely. And we had a great conversation with him, and here is how it went.
Jerry.
Well, Jerry, you directed this episode.
Dude,
I did.
So much to talk about.
I did.
You know.
And the show went on after it. Jeez.
So let's talk about that. Like, I know you have mentioned before in the podcast that they had even, like, Bob asked you to direct years previous to this.
Yes.
Isn't that true?
That is true. I was just, to tell you the truth, I was very intimidated by actors.
Yes.
I mean, all the other elements I felt pretty good about, but I really didn't know what I could bring to the table on that front. And until you sit in that chair, you have no idea what you're in for. But the thing that really got me off the chair was when Bob gave Johnny Mack an episode, and I went, what? Well, if Johnny can do it, I can do it. And, and then with all my confidence, instead of calling Bob and saying, hey, Bob, remember when you said I could do an episode? I emailed him and I said, hey, Bob, just thinking maybe, if you want to give me a shot, I would, and he called me like 5 minutes after the email and he goes, what episode do you want? And I said, well, 13 sounds like a lucky number. Let's do that.
Oh, wow.
What was it really like that? Like you just set a number? Because you obviously don't know the script at that point, right? I mean,
no, I didn't. But it was just like how it would fit in the season, and because I needed enough time where I could step away from designing and hand the reins over to John. So that just worked out.
That's super cool. So now listen, I just know, what was your first step in adapting your mindset from your decades-long career as a designer to now the visionary behind the entire episode?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if it ever really hit me until day one, sitting in the chair, and Kevin is over my shoulder, like just breathing fire. Okay, now what? Now, Kevin is a fantastic AD, and he helped me.
Yeah, we're talking about Kevin Parks for those who listen regularly.
And he helped me immensely. But all of a sudden, you're in that chair and there's 200 people that are kind of like waiting for you to make a decision. And, Bob gave me some good pointers, as did Phil. And basically, it said, you just have to make a decision and you have to move forward. But, as far as the buildup, I mean, I didn't sleep well. I had no real conception of what it was going to be anyhow. So until I got there that morning, I just, and then the reality hit me, how different it was that me from the, right next to the director versus in the chair, the proximity and the responsibility and what that role really meant.
Yeah.
It was all Jensen the first day. And man, he's just, I was in awe because I'd been at the monitor hundreds of times. seen him do many scenes, saw him in dailies. But until you're sitting in that chair, you have the script and you have an idea where you think it's going. And then he just does these little nuances that just take you to a whole different place. And then you go, damn, I never thought of that. But it's brilliant.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
let's do another one of those.
Well, when you're talking about the first day, you said like on the first day, that's when I realized. Are you talking about first day of shooting or first day of that long tabled pre-production meeting where all eyes are on you? Which was the day?
No, it's really the first day of shooting because I have been in numerous thousands of those table reading, all heads of department and producers. And I was still pretty fine with that. I think it was kind of like just being that naive that it didn't scare me because, the reason that Bob asked me to direct in the first place was because of my continuous input at those meetings. I mean,
right.
I can't shut up. So, I just, when I have an idea, I bring it forward. And luckily, it usually had something to do with the script. And, Bob just said, you just tell the story. It's all about the story.
Yeah.
Forget, Richard, I had the pleasure of your first directing, gig. And what impressed me about the way you approached it was you did exactly that, where you basically concentrated on the beats, on the script, and the story arc, where so many people come in, especially younger directors. The first thing they ask is, how many crane days do I have? How many steady cam days? How many?
Right.
Can I have a techno crane?
It's about the toys, not the story,
right. You're missing the whole point.
Yeah.
Hey there, this is Jensen. I hope you're enjoying the episode, but we need to pull over for a second for some messages, and I got to take a leak.
Hey guys, it's Rob. I like to be dressed nice. I like wearing clothes that make me feel good about myself. I wouldn't say I'm like super big on trends. I don't even know what's in and what's out. All I know is when I feel good. And I found this place, Quince, online. It has everything. Well, first of all, it has everything you want to wear for summer. But they have the kind of clothes that I like to wear. And what's great is it's half the cost of other similar brands. So you go, all right, what's the catch? There's no catch. They work directly with top artisans and they cut out the middleman. So Quince gives you luxury pieces without the markups. But you say, but Rob, this is surely made at some kind of questionable factory. No. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And you say, Rob, the fabrics probably aren't great. They work with premium fabrics and finishes. But you say, Rob, they must only have clothes for you. No, they got clothes for everybody. Great clothing at half the cost. It's a true story. So I recently got one of these because I was anticipating summer. I got a short sleeve button-up number it's white. It's linen, and it's very handsome. And I've been wearing it up and down the boulevard all around town to every function that I've invited to. Now, I have to get another one in a different color because it's getting... now I'm just the guy in the cool white linen shirt. And you know what? I'll take it. I like this product. I like what these guys are about. And I think you will too. Quince. Made well. Made quality. Made cool, and not so hard on the old pocketbook. Stick to the staples that last with elevated essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/STN for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/STN to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/STN.
You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hey, guess what? We're back.
So were you tempted at all? I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate that review, and I know that you think the same way. But when you did get this opportunity, for example, you have a really nice, I think it's either a small crane move or a nice boom up over that in the teaser in the first body. You do like a little twist rise over your first kill, so to speak, to reveal that chest wound. Perfectly executed moment to reveal that the gruesomeness of this crime.
Yeah.
So you obviously are using some tools of the trade to tell the story. Were you ever tempted to overdo? Like, was there any sort of like, oh, am I under jazzing this? I mean, did you fight any internal struggles regarding that?
Not too much. I mean, there are a couple of things, like the scene that I really wanted was when we pull out the drawer and the later killing with the kid that was at the morgue who did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
I wanted the three of them equally spaced and the camera in the drawer as it pulled out to reveal these three guys looking straight down at the body. And I got a little resistance from the boys because they just didn't, what? And then after we did a take and then, they went over to the monitor, they said, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I definitely wanted to keep the camera moving. But I was more studying, what Bob does with those subtle push in for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And, Phil gave me a lot of tips too. The toe tag, like coming up, like from starting on the body and ending on the toe tag and revealing the body in the morgue.
Right.
Phil's a good friend and has always been a big influence on what I do as the other directors and people. And of course, the way I looked at it, and it didn't dawn on me until I was in the chair and thought I was screwing up, was, they basically give you the keys to the $3 million car. It's a $3 million episode, no matter how you slice it. And you screw it up, you crash the car, and they're going to take away the keys. You're never going to get to drive the car again. So, with that in mind, you just kind of like, you try to just really stay focused and tell the story and do the best you can. I mean, one of the times, and I freaked out, was when Harry, the guy who played the professor, and we were at UBC, and this was the first day again. And I had him, and I thought it would be, because he was a little bit bumbling and a little bit long-winded, to actually step in front of the screen as he was doing his,
Yeah, that was great.
And I went, after I did it, I was very happy. And then that night I went, I should have done one clean. What if they hate the way the screen looks on him? And and I started emailing Bob and started, texting Phil going, oh man. And I got no response. I got zero. And I'm going like, well, they're going to see the dailies and they're going to be furious. Right. And it was like, no big deal.
Nothing.
But again, being the first time director, the first time you're driving the car, scared the crap out of me,
Yeah.
You had another nice little detail where you talk about the toe tag. You did a shot that was table level or started table level when the body came out, and we could see that there was no feet.
Yeah,
it was a good way of showing that without having to show too much.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm squeamish. I don't like blood, and as far as like an episode goes, the start of that, I think we spilled more blood than any other episode.
Dude,
I mean,
so gruesome.
We had to drill holes in the floor so the actors' legs could go through the holes.
Yeah.
Then you could use the prosthetic on the knees to look like they were bloody stumps, and same thing with the arms. But Derek did a great job.
Who's Derek?
Derek was the first guy that got tossed. And
I wondered if any of those guys were friends of yours. Yeah,
he's a really good friend of David Nutter's.
Okay,
Nutter puts him, put him in everything, and a really good guy. And I said, Derek, here's this thing, because he's also like very stunty. I said, there's not a lot of lines, and I said, but if you want to do it, it's yours. Basically. He said, for you, yeah, let's go play. That was a huge help.
Fun. I appreciated your extreme close-ups of people's eyes. Was that your choice to make? I thought that sometimes you, as the non-director of the group, I appreciate when I notice certain things that certain directors are doing to sort of make it their style. And I was like, ooh, this is a Wanek.
Yeah.
This is you doing that. And it really added to the tension of those moments.
Thank you. That comes from people like Tom Wright, who they've always called Too Tight Right. But, you look at Tom's episodes and you're just captivated.
Yeah.
And Bob and Phil.
Yeah.
Phil was the one who really, it was on the pickup scene in the bar where we're really getting close and tight on their eyes as Jensen's basically being drugged or not drugged, but he was being seduced by Sarah.
Yeah.
That was a lot of coaching from Mr. Sagrisha. But Bob has those great moments, in all his episodes where he does that tight push. It's very subtle.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you're right in this, the most emotive part in the eyes. And you just go, okay, now I get it.
Right. Now, Jerry, now stepping into these shoes, I was wondering as I was watching it, is it hard not to also think about what the background looks like, what your set looks like, what your...
Absolutely.
Yeah. How do you...
And that was one of the warnings, again, from Bob and Phil. It's like, forget about, but you can't.
Yeah, no, that's what you do.
John had worked with me. This is like the 9th year that John and I, or 10th, that John and I had worked together on projects. So I was very comfortable with...
And we're talking Marcinick now, right?
Yeah, John Marcinick, who, is doing he has a great career right now doing his own production design as he deserves to.
But he was your assistant on the show?
Yeah, he was my art director. And then so when you direct, then the next guy in line, which is the art director, comes up. But when I was doing my shot list, like as soon as I got the script, I pretty much laid out the floor plan of the sets where I wanted to shoot. So, I took a little bit of liberty with John and kind of like coerced him a little bit to help me with that, just because there's certain aspects like throwing against that wall. And I knew I had to do it twice. This is the opening scene. And then later on, we actually use the same wall with a different painting and, and different dressing and stuff. So, but because I knew I had so many things to cover that I wasn't going to make my days unless we did some of that. But again, you get in the set and you're with the boys, and I just marveled at, the paint, because I looked at the episode again and the wonderful paint job from Monique and Roger and the crew, and the way it was, dressed from George. And, it's like my team, right?
Yeah. I would imagine it's hard to like watch the episode with the director's hat on. It's got to be hard for you because I'm sure you're trained to look beyond the actor. Yeah. And, to look at what's going on. So it's a big, big task.
It's funny because I don't really look at, my episodes, and I don't really look at the show much unless I catch it flipping through the channels. But I had the reaction of like, wow, I did that, because there's certain things I noticed that were choices I made that I was surprised. I was happy about. Right? I'm like,
right.
I don't remember thinking that through, but I had to, because there was a lot of pieces to tie together, like is in every episode. But I got to tell you, when I read that script, I'm going like, oh, thanks, Bob, because now I have a love scene, first one for Jensen in our show, and I got a birthing scene with babies, with real babies. I'm going, geez, Bob, why didn't you throw in a dog?
Yeah.
Let's get the trifecta going here. We were so lucky because Sarah Canning, who played Libby,
Libby,
she happened to be in town visiting friends or doing another show. So she read for the part. Her agent said, hey, as long as you're up there. And she came in and she just blew everybody away on the casting session and showed her to Jensen. And we had some discussions, and he was very happy. But then the fun starts. So we go to the reading. They get one page. Well, you guys have done it millions of times. And the scene has nothing to do with the love scene. And she never got the full script. So now she comes to wardrobe, and Diane, our wardrobe supervisor, says, hey, Sarah's here. And she is very upset. She's crying in my office.
God.
Oops.
Oh, geez.
And I'm going like, what? Why? Well, I was, fitting her with, her undergarments and pasties. And she had no idea that there was a love scene and that she was going to be, doing this. And she's on her way up to talk to you. And I'm going,
Oh boy.
oh, great. Maybe that's, something that maybe Jim or could get a little help here, boys, but too late.
Yeah.
I go to the, all of a sudden she walks in and I'm going like, I am so sorry. I didn't think nobody else along this, trek here, would have told you that this was part of it. So I said, we talked for a long time and I just assured her that we weren't going to do anything crazy and that I would get a body double when we needed to. And she was very professional and she did a great job. I mean, she's a really fine actress. So that was that.
I have a question for you, Jerry, because I'm recalling the scene as you're talking about it. Was there, I mean, obviously it's a scene they strip down to underwear but I don't recall simulated nudity much.
It's on her back.
Yeah, just on her back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that would have meant she would have been pretty naked outside.
Of course. No, I'm not making light of her concerns. I was just trying to piece together what this, I mean, you shot it pretty conservatively, I guess is my statement.
I did. And, looking back, I wish I would have spent more time, but, you also like Jensen because he is very body conscious. So he's been fasting and working out a lot heavier because this is the first time that he's like done this on the show. I mean, and the boys were very smart, like throughout the series. They just said, look, we're not going to do this like shirt off in every other scene or, all this stuff. That's not what we're doing. We're actors. We're not sex symbols, even though they are.
If Rob and I had a nickel for every time people wanted us to do this podcast shirtless, I mean, and it's no, fine, yes. You know what I mean? Like every time.
And that's the reason why you don't wear pants.
That's what that was.
So
The compromise.
Yeah. Well, fair. Very fair.
Yeah. Everybody's fine with it except for our chairs. both chairs want to raise. Okay, so now let's not breeze past your conversation because this is an interesting actor-director conversation. She comes to you with very legitimate concerns, right?
Yes.
Didn't know this was part of the job.
Yes.
This was not made. Maybe I would have thought twice about auditioning, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is literally part of the job that is not in the manual for you.
No.
Right. So here this comes. How do you field this one? Because the ball's in your court. Obviously, as a man, I know you're sympathetic and you're kind. As a storyteller, you have an assignment. How do you mesh those two moments together?
You just have to listen. I mean, I just sat there and, she's very emotional because she had never done any, she's in the Vampire Diaries and she's in several other shows and she had never done any like semi-nudity or nudity, right? And she goes, look, I'm not like a prude, but, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
So I basically just listened and it was just more or less assuring her that I would be very respectful. The crew would be off the set and wouldn't do a lot of takes. And then when it came time to the part where she would feel uncomfortable, we did have a body double and brought her in and she was like, okay, let's go. But it was an interesting moment.
Sure.
One I certainly don't want to do again because she felt lied to. Or
obviously, you guys got to a place of understanding, though.
Oh, yeah.
She would have.
Yes.
And as Rich said, it's very tastefully done.
Yeah.
So
and that was my promise to her.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to dwell on, certain aspects. That's why I had the screen in the foreground to pan through and stuff like that could hide some stuff. And
it also felt to me more like, and again, I'll tip my cap to your choices here. You're telling two stories. You're going from them rolling over to a different scene of a murder.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's not gratuitous. You're literally showing the origin story of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know this, but now looking back on it, the guy who's getting thrown around, murdered.
Yeah.
He had a love scene that led to his death. Now you're seeing this. So you're seeing the beginning and the end of this journey of men in relation with these women. So there's a point to the storytelling, and the way you shot it editorially leads from romance to gore.
Yes.
Back and forth like that. So I never felt like, again, I was being shown a love scene. I felt like I was like, oh, this is, when I think there's going to be a moment, now you flash to somewhere else and you take me somewhere else. So I thought it was very creatively done,
Well, thank you. I mean, I did have some, wonderful editor and she kind of led me through that also. But it was, that part was not my favorite day, but all's well that ends well. And I'm very happy the way it turned out. And again, they both did a great job. And then the AC/DC didn't hurt either. Right?
No, nice, nice needle drop.
Yeah.
Either did Loudon Swain in the scene before.
Really?
Yeah, you remember? So Loudon Swain song is playing in the bar.
Oh,
yeah. Which
song is that, Rob?
It's Worlds Collide.
Yeah. I knew immediately when it was playing. I kept waiting for Mark Shepard to get on drums.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that was fun. This was the first episode that a Loudon Swain song was in the show, which, because you don't know that answers the question. That's later. They must have thrown that in, and that must have been a post thing.
That would have been a fill, Yeah, but I love the song. I mean, because when I watched it again, I love music, and as you know, and follow it, and I'm going like, wow, that's a nice song, and I didn't know, I didn't know the artist.
I was trying to remember and it must have been Phil, because Phil was aware of us, and
Jay Gresham was also like super cool guy and really a smart he was composer.
Awesome.
Music guy. So
he's always been very supportive of us as well.
Yeah.
So graphic designer Marianne Liu has spoken a great deal about the research she does to come up with the various symbols that are in the series, including the harmony symbol in this episode. Did you work closely with her at all, or is that her own thing? She brings that in and you...
No, I mean, Marianne has great instincts, and she's a fantastic graphic designer. And what I like about Marianne is she'll always have a backstory. It's not just gratuitous. It's not just lines. It's not, there's a meaning to it.
Right.
And, but there's certain things that she'll bring, and now you got to go like, okay, but now this has to get carved into flesh. So we need to simplify this, and it has to be done, in a couple of strokes. So I'm sure she brought me something, and then we sat down, as we always do, and we just go back and forth until we hit the sweet spot. And I mean, I was so blessed my whole career on Supernatural between Leanne Lazacek and Marianne Liu. And, they just are phenomenal graphic artists. And, that's a big part of my look, as because I do, and it's the top. I always explain that to people. I said, you got to do a great set. You got to paint it. You got to dress it. But then there's the graphics, which is kind of like on top of on top. So if those throw you off, if it's a bad magazine, if it's, something that you just go, wow, what is that? Then you've lost the rest of the set, the scene, whatever. So, so I spend a lot of time. I've always been very, close to my graphic artists. And
What's the line there? Where does the graphic artist come in? Like, for example, your department dresses the set.
Yeah.
You put the pictures up and whatnot. The graphic designer is what? Is a specific prop for that episode that they designed?
Well, there's so many. I mean, it's street signs. It's any kind of product anybody touches. It's everything, because we live in such a litigious world that if the WB doesn't want that on, then So I just stopped even trying to get products cleared, because it was always a hard no. So we just immediately take it to, we look at everything on that script, and Marianne and Leanne would alternate episodes, and they would go through the script and they would highlight everything that they thought was a graphic. Then we would talk about it, and then we'd start designing. So well ahead of, like day one, they're already thinking about these things.
It's so much cooler doing it that way than getting the real product, may I say?
Yeah.
Because in a way, you created your own universe that became recurring themes of brands.
Absolutely.
So the line between what was an actual brand and what was a Supernatural brand became very blurry.
I mean, case in point, the Leinenkugels, Margie Kugels. Leinenkugels is a very popular beer in Wisconsin. And
Leinie's, yeah.
Yeah, but Margie Kugel was my mother's maiden name.
That's amazing.
And so we named it Leinenkugels. We did a very similar label, but we put my mom's picture in the middle of the neck label.
Is so
anyhow,
funny.
But to your point, we did like our gas and sips and our just certain things that we called back.
Right. Yeah.
I got one for you that you did.
The porn site.
You didn't do it till later in the years, but you did for me.
The subs.
The sub shop. Yes, the Three Amigos sub shop. Steve, Fletch, and Frank.
Yeah, that was great.
Awesome.
See, I love that when there's another dimension to it.
The Cobalt Room.
Yeah.
It struck me that it's a trendy bar as opposed to a dive bar,
toilet,
sports
like
bar.
Dean usually goes to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a choice that you made?
Yeah, because the person that was picking him up was quite elegant and very pretty, and Dean was in a suit. I mean, like, because he is a lot, and he's going out in a college town, and
right.
Yeah, I just think it felt right, because it was seducing, and it was also like in that banter between Dean and Liddy, you could tell he was a bit of a fish out of water, which was also sort of endearing. And
she also, the part of the thing was that they were going after guys that were sort of
rich
off,
dudes,
and finance and stuff. So they'd hang out in the Cobalt Room, not the gas and sip.
That's for the Robin Rich sort of level of where the ladies be at.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So again, first time directing. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing your job, as you say. Different skill set, different challenges. Aside from the great actor-director conversation you had to have to smooth over the missed information being passed along about the love scene, what other curveball came your way? Because there was other curveball. Like what other day went differently than you expected? And it could have ended up being a good thing, but what hurdles did you face in this process?
Everything was sort of like a similar level of intensity because every day presents its own problem. I mean, the day with the birthing scene, you have a doula there and you're going through all this stuff. I mean, I'm just like going, I learned a lot, but I'm going like, wow, because they really wanted, we had a real baby. And, there was, then when Jared comes racing back to save Dean, he's got to bust open the door. And of course, Jared, being the gentle giant that he was, he just kicked the door off the hinges. I mean, he just, blasted the whole, everything. And so now what? Because we got to do take two. So luckily, Dave, our on-set carp, was, kind of used to the drill and he glued it back together so we could do another take. And there's just some times where, between Jared and Jensen, they have a different take. And you just really have to just like go, they're the guys.
Right.
I'm going with them.
Yeah.
But your instinct is to dig your heels in because that's not the way you might have seen it.
Right.
But they were both very gracious. And, and Richard, you found this out too. Like the crew really liked it when one of their own was part of the mix. They really cheered us on. They really did their best work because they wanted us to succeed.
Right.
They were happy for our success. And that to me was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
The other thing that, we had to do this driving scene and it was a Friday night. And so we did all the usual stuff on stage, but, with our poor man's process, which Serge, still, I think that is the best poor man's process I've ever seen on any show anywhere. I don't care if it's a feature or whatever. You can never tell you're really on the stage. It was.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
But now, last setup, it's Friday night, and we got to take the car out and do some driving with Jared. And Jared's pretty happy. It's Friday, and he's in this beautiful old Riviera that, I picked for the first car we see Jensen driving in the show.
Yeah.
It's like this split-tailed, Riviera that's very rare. And anyway, so Jared's driving the car and Brad's, handheld next to him. And Jared wants to ram the car in front of him, what's the guy's name? He's such a sweet guy that used to be the older driver.
Ted?
Ted. So Ted is like leading us just so we see taillights and stuff like that. And it's his like Ford Explorer. And Jared is like, let's ram him. I'm not going to hit him out. Let's just nudge him.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, no. And I remember when we finally wrapped for the night and Brad comes crawling out of the car going like, that's it. We're not doing this again. Yeah, never a dull moment. You know what I mean?
Never a dull moment.
It's just, again, the longevity of that show was just because there were so many good people and everybody basically got along. And and there's no lack of egos, including my own.
Yeah.
To see that happen, and if you try to think back on why it lasted, great writing, great cast, and a crew that just got along. and just wanted to do good work.
Okay, we're gonna one quick question, and then we'll let you go. What was the human flesh that the girls had to eat? What was that actually?
I think it was sashimi, if I remember right.
Oh, funny.
I think it was
yummy.
like tuna or something. But
I'll have a little human flesh for lunch. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Soy sauce.
Anyhow, I keep on having these reoccurring dreams that I'm on the set of Supernatural. The other morning I woke up and it was about season 18. And I'm going like, wow, that was fun.
Yeah.
Because, it's such good memories. And, I often think about our cast, our crew, and all you guys. And it's such a delight when I get to come see you guys at a convention. And I really miss it, and hopefully at some point, at least like what X-Files did, do a miniseries, do like 6 of them or something.
Yeah.
And just bring the band back. Put the band back together, because it was just too good. And again, watching that episode, I'm going like, this is a really good show. I get it, So anyway, I'm reduced to painting now. So
thank you, Jerry.
It was a lot of fun as always. I can't wait to see you guys again.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah, dude, this is awesome. And great job, by the way. Great job on the show.
Thank you.
Great episode. We really loved it.
Thank you.
Hey there, it's Misha Collins. If you're like me, you want a break from the sound of Richard Spate's voice, we'll be right back after this.
If you've ever shopped online, and let's face it, who hasn't? Chances are you've bought something from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes things easier, and not just for shoppers. They make it easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. It gives you a leg up from day dot, with hundreds of beautiful ready-to-go templates to express your brand style so you can get up and running fast. You can tackle your important tasks, from inventory to payments to analytics and more, all in one place. You can also spread your brand's word with built-in marketing and email tools built for you to find and keep new customers. And remember that iconic purple Shop Pay button that's used by millions of businesses around the world? It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Your customers already know and love it. If you want to see less carts being abandoned, it's time for you to head over to Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. Shopify.com/realm.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Thank you for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
Rob, I mean, it's old home week talking to Jerry. It's like no time has passed. And I
totally, really,
truly like Brad Creaser, like Phil Segretia. He's just one of the OG gangsters. And I loved hanging out with that guy back in the day. Because when I would go up there for other shows, Jerry and I would still go out and have a beer and catch up. Like he was so supportive to me. I know I told you, friend to friend, how helpful he was when I started directing. He's just one of the good ones, man. Like, just love talking to him. He's a fun guy to connect with.
No, he's great. And I was excited to talk about this episode too, because it was such a cool, he got a swing and he hit it out of the park.
Yeah. And it's interesting talking to him about it, which I never really had, to talk about what it's like to be on the inside and then step into that role.
Right. Well, and I thought it was interesting because you said he said the first day was the most nerve-wracking, and you said the first day of pre-production, because that, for you as an actor, was probably the most
my God,
nerve-wracking.
I was
but for him,
pooping my pants.
Right, but for him, he does that every time he does that
Right.
at the table, right? So for him, it was being on set and actually directing the actors that he's, to be in that seat. It's a really interesting thing, I think, especially him. I mean, I know that other people get that opportunity who work on the crew. But he, in particular, he's not the DP, he's not the AD, he's not some of these, and not an actor, he's not some of these other guys. He's the set
production designer, yeah.
And so he gets the chance to sort of like change positions in the crew. I thought that was interesting,
and it's pretty specific too, as you pointed out, because it's not like he's Serge going from one seat to the seat right next to his seat.
Right.
Jerry's up in the office on the second floor.
Right.
And his work is almost all done before the episode starts shooting.
Right.
So when you're shooting, he's now working on the next episode.
Right.
So he's not down. Obviously, he comes down whenever he wants, but he's not boots on the ground day in, day out on the shooting of everything.
Yeah.
That's a different headspace for him to be in a big way. That's why he's so comfortable at the head of the long conference table of pre-production, but was having to find his sea legs in the actual production of it all.
Yeah. Well, it was good talk with him. And
yeah, man.
And just a great, smooth segue right into what we like to call mythology.
Mythology.
Amazons are a famous part of Greek mythology and are featured in several epic poems and legends. They were a female-led warrior culture. Men were either absent, used solely for reproduction, or held in lower social status.
I'll tell you what, if we're picking from one of those three, I'll take number 2 for a block, Wink. You know what I'm saying?
I'll
let you be either absent or held in lower status, and I'll take the reproduction angle.
I didn't realize it was a choice. And
I'm assuming.
Okay. And everybody only gets that one choice. According to legend, the Amazons would mate with a neighboring tribe of all men, the Gargarians, in order for each tribe to preserve their gender-elusive populations.
I think it's gender exclusive, but maybe gender elusive. Maybe just, they just can't find that darn gender.
In order for each tribe to preserve their gender-exclusive populations.
Note to self, move into the neighborhood of the Gargarians.
Yeah.
Look for a little condo in the Gargarian neighborhood.
Yeah, unless they're going to come kill you afterwards.
Again, I'm going to take number 2. You can be absent or held in lower social status. I will do the reproducing.
I'm just going to use the Amazons to find a good book.
And some dish
or a
soap
vacuum.
in bulk.
Some dish soap in bulk.
Robbie, when you're our size, isn't every woman an Amazon, truly?
And every man is a Gargarian.
You know what's funny is, I'm sure in casting this episode, they tried to find tall women, but when you have Johnny Stilts and Jared Padalecki playing, where are you going to find a tower over him? You got to get a WNBA team to show up or something.
Yeah, I didn't get that vibe. I didn't get the Amazonian vibe from any of the women, really.
I kind of felt like they must have just not gone that direction.
Yeah, I got more of a witchy vibe.
Witchy, like witchy spate?
No, not that kind of witchy. According to geographer Strabo...
Old Strabo, the geographer, chiming in with his 2 cents all the time. What did Strabo have to say? Let me guess. He had some 1st century BC nonsense. Am I right?
That's right. 1st century BC, the Amazons and the Gargarians met once a year for 2 weeks in the spring on a designated mountain to copulate for reproductive purposes. Okay, I'm listening.
You have my attention.
These encounters would occur according to ancient tribal customs and collective offerings of sacrifices. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'll see you on the mountain.
Let me tell you something. Note to self: plan spring break around a certain mountaintop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Note to self: email Strabo.
Tell family I'm going down to check out hot tub.
# blame Strabo.
Right around copulation time, which I assume is right after happy hour, but before dinner would be my guess.
And check this out. The resulting female offspring were raised by the Amazons to become warriors.
Okay.
While the male children were either returned to the Gargarians, abandoned, or killed.
I'll take A, please. I'll be returned to the Gargarians. Robbie, you can be abandoned or killed.
Just get me to that mountain. So Otrera, the first Amazon queen, is the offspring of a romance between Ares, the god of war, and the nymph Harmonia of the Archemonian wood.
A lot of jokes there. I'm gonna leave sitting there, but I will tell you something.
Okay.
This world is shy of nymphs. You know what I mean? We could use some more nymphing in this current world we live in.
Can you tell me exactly what a nymph is?
I will if you explain Archemonian wood, because I know that's your lane.
No, thank you.
I always think of nymphs as being the sort of like, almost like hippies, the American, like the modern version of like Earth Mother, flowing translucent gowns, bare feet, probably not wearing anything up top to hold everybody together. Very loosey-goosey.
Wow.
Probably a little frisky. You know what I mean?
I'm seeing from my Google search, a mythological spirit of nature imagined as a beautiful maiden inhabiting rivers, woods, or other locations.
Yeah, I'm kind of nailing it.
I'm not seeing anything about being topless.
No, I didn't say topless. I was saying no bra.
Oh, great.
Braless.
Still not in the
Yeah, because back in the day, there was no bras. We put the bras on the nymphs. Shame on us.
Okay. This is fun. But you know what's more fun?
I assume something factual, like a fun fact, fun fact, fun fact, fun fact.
The title is a reference to the 90s music group The Spice Girls.
I did not pick up on that.
One of the members, Baby Spice, real name, Emma.
Rob, dude.
Richard, yeah.
Just tell me what you want. What you really, really want.
I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want. I wanna Baby Spice, real name Emma. I didn't know that. It's interesting.
I did not know that either. And by the way, you're such a liar. You absolutely knew that. You liar.
No.
You're a liar, and I'm calling you out right here.
Did I know that Baby Spice's name was Emma? Maybe at some point, but I didn't.
Knew. Oh, you knew.
I wasn't watching this episode going, I get it. Emma.
Well, I guess Emma was better than Scary. That's the only Spice Girl. Remember, there's like Scary Spice.
Yeah. Or what's her name? Posh Spice.
Married to the soccer player.
Beckham.
Victoria.
Victoria.
Could have been Victoria.
There you go.
Or Scary or Emma. Or the other one.
Another one. Who was topless, you're speaking your language.
What? Who?
One of them was in Playboy.
I didn't know that. Look, he's done his homework, Robert. Nice job.
Oh, who doesn't know that? You know that. It's in the poster right behind you.
Oh. I didn't realize that was... It's funny, one of those few things that date Supernatural was the title of this episode.
Yeah. Honest to God, I've never seen this episode. I knew that it was... I knew it only because the Loudon Swain song, and I watched only that scene back in the day, but I never put it together that the Slice Girls was from the Spice Girls.
Oh, look at you, not getting it.
Yeah. What was the episode initially titled, Richard?
If memory serves, it was titled Knocked Up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that also would have worked.
Yeah. Spice Girls is an interesting title. It's so, you know what I mean? And Knocked Up also, by the way, is very much a time and place. I know it's a real phrase, but it's also from a movie.
Knocked Up's from the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been good too.
There's a Brazilian title that's interesting. It's As Fatiadoras. Which means the slicers.
The slicers. All right.
And what would the what would the Japanese call this episode?
It looks like it's the happy fun boat that kills you.
Oh, it's interesting. So they're referring to Amazon women as happy fun boats.
That's right.
Because they do kill you.
Yeah.
Well, I get it.
When Dean is picking up the girl at the bar, he says he can speak Japanese.
Oh, I wonder if he said to her, happy fun boat that kills you.
Because obviously he did, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
In changing channels, Dean did understand and talk a little Japanese during his appearance on the Japanese game show.
He did, and in that very episode is when he coined the term, Sam Winchester, my brother, is much like a happy fun boat that will kill you. That's what he says.
Really?
Yep, that's what he says. It's where this whole joke originated.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there you go. Little
weird
TV trivia for people. The Cobalt Room was filmed in the now closed Century Restaurant and Bar. It is now the location of an antique store. Well, that's a big 180 from a high-end bar.
Did you get a lot of drinks at the Century Restaurant and Bar?
I've never heard of it even. Do you recall this place?
I've never heard of it either.
But I will tell you that a young Rich Spate courted a young J.C. Machete Hayes in a bar in Northern California called Cobalt.
Okay, that's a little bit of a
little trivia.
Yeah.
No longer exists. It was in the neighborhood of North Beach.
You took me there. You took me there in Seattle.
Yes, I did. We did a whole thing there, a whole tour.
Yep. And you never put a ring on my finger.
I didn't, but there was no Cobalt bar. By the time you and I went there, the bar was closed. Otherwise, I'd have taken you in there and gotten all Gregorian on you or whatever.
Okay. Now I feel awkward. The episode is about Amazons in Seattle. The popular online retailer Amazon is also headquartered in Seattle.
Is that on purpose?
I don't think so. I feel like it's an after the fact.
That's kind of hilarious, though.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. It would be thinking. Well, and it's not listed here, but fun fact, the song playing in the bar when Jensen is talking with the lady and hooking up is Worlds Collide by Loudon Swain. It was the first song that we had in the show. I think there were 3 total episodes that had our songs, and this was the first.
Well, that was it was a cool episode for you guys to have music in. It was very fun. Featured prominently. It really comes in and you hear it, and it's
but also if you're not listening, it shouldn't steal focus, and it didn't. But
because I'm a fan of you guys and that song, I immediately was like, oh,
yeah, Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool. And that was as you know, you and I were running around together at that point. We were really not in the show at all, and there was no prospect of ever coming back.
Right.
So it was fun to have a finger in there.
Yeah, it's good. You're pretty good at getting a finger in there when people think you're gone and you're not coming back. Suddenly, hello, there's Robbie's finger.
As soon as it left my mouth, I was like, ah.
And by the way, when you say left your mouth, are you referring to your finger again?
And as soon as that left my mouth, I did it again. Well, this was fun. Fun podcast, fun episode.
Yeah, fun all around. Fun.
Fun all the way around.
I agree. You know what? We should do it again next week.
Let's do it again next week. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester, Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars include Harry Groner, Sarah Canning, Kendall Cross, Craig Anderson, Jill Teed, and Alexia Fast.
The Slice Girls was written by Eugenie Ross Lemming and Brad Buckner and directed by Jerry Wanick.
Editing by Nicole Baer. Music by Jay Gruska.
Executive produced by Robert Singer and Sarah Gamble.
Supernatural was created by Eric Kripke.
The episode featured the following songs: You Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC.
The Devil's Gotta Earn by Brett Detar.
And Worlds Collide by Loudon Swain.
This episode originally aired on February 3rd, 2012, 3 days before the birthday of Ronald Reagan.
He was born in 2012?
Yep.
Huh. God, he seemed older than that.
No.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Speight Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine. Written by Stephen Hine and Hada Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty. Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and YouTube at SPN Then and Now.
And become a member of the podcast to get early access, chat rooms with other podcast fans, and video interviews at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now.
And from Amazon, Steve Hine will appreciate this, the popular online retailer, you can order bras. There you go, Steve. Now your whole...
Oh, there you go. Now it all makes sense.
Your whole life mission comes full circle.
That's weird. Steve's shaking his head.
No, Steve's just having a cardiac event. Ignore Steve.
Oh, okay.
He's fine.
Okay.
Steve was too busy writing his braless manifesto for this episode.
Oh, Amazons are a whole bunch of websites where you can get any book you want or a vacuum, gifts for the kids. No, you missed it. You weren't listening. You missed my joke.
Yeah. Also, literally, this is if you ever need to know how dumb guys are, and we're dumb.
We're so dumb.
The Gargarians, this happened once a year where they go, mate, and then are slaughtered.
Yeah.
And they go back every year.
Every year. Yeah. Every year. Party.
Hey, Dale, what are you going to do this spring? Oh, go to the one guy who just can't get any. Like he's just such a dork that no Amazon will have him. Yeah. He's watching his friends just get splayed out around him, and he's like,
By the way, where's Dale Jr.?
He And by the way, anybody who's upset by those comments, I'm just reading Steve Hine's notes. I don't have an opinion about this. This is all Steve Hine. If you want to meet Danny Glover, you got to get with my friends.
Why Danny Glover?
It rhymes with clever. I don't know.
Okay.
Storymill Media.
Hey folks, we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge. I'm Yen, a reader, writer, liver, and breather of comic books.
And I'm Nat. I used to know absolutely nothing about comics, but now...
So actually, I've got a quiz for you.
I still have a lot to learn about comics.
Thank you. On Comic Sans, I make Nat read some of my favorite works in the medium, including Saga, Daredevil, and the Flintstones.
And Yen talks about what makes that comic special. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's...
Paneling, gutters, page turns, colorings, lettering, semiotics, juxtaposition.
Okay, Professor, save it for the episodes.
You can listen to Comic Sans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can binge our first 2 seasons. That's over 20 episodes on 20 different comics.
And we just launched Season 3, new episodes every 2 weeks.
Greetings, adventurers. Today we're excited to introduce you to a new story, Dark Dice, a horror podcast that blurs the line between actual play and audio drama, where the story is determined by the roll of the dice. 6 adventurers embark on a journey into the ruinous domain of the Nameless God. They will never be the same again. One of the players is not what they seem after a doppelganger, a creature that can assume the form and voice of whatever it kills, infiltrates the team. As the players are picked off and replaced one at a time, can they figure out who the monster is before it's too late? Can you? Here's a quick example of what our show sounds like.
The shambler with the jar of liquid inside of him.
Soren Arkwright let loose an arrow that cracked the glass, passing through the spine of the creature. The shambler still managed to maintain its forward momentum, but stumbled as it eagerly tried to bite and swipe at Soren, landing near his feet.
As Jeff Goldblum has now joined our cast, Dark Dice is available however you listen to podcasts.